So as head of Net Zero, I lead our decarbonisation strategy, which is coming up with a plan to help our residents to live sustainably and to end our reliance on fossil fuels. So net zero is a state where your carbon emissions are actually so low that they can effectively be offset with carbon offsetting processes. So ideally that's literally sucking carbon out of the air. So in practice, to reach net zero, we need to drastically reduce our carbon emissions, and we'll also be looking for some innovation in the offsetting processes technologies. Carbon neutral refers to any process that absorbs as much carbon as it emits. So a good example would be using timber for construction. If the trees that are cut down are then replaced by new trees that grow in their place. Very few processes really are carbon neutral, which is why we need innovation to get those offsets to get us back to net zero. So zero waste can refer to the circular economy, which is where the waste products from one process then become the raw materials for another. And we need to kind of really focus on the circular economy in order to get our carbon emissions down as low as possible. So I like to think that there are three big challenges to tackling net zero. There's a technical challenge, there's an economic challenge, and there's a cultural challenge. The technical challenge is all about how we stop emissions at their source, how we reduce the emissions that come from buildings. So in the UK, about 22% of our carbon emissions just come from people being at home. And the solutions to these are actually pretty well understood. So insulating homes better and improving their ventilation are key to getting those operational emissions down really low. The economic challenge is all about aligning business cases with the incentives and the rewards for decarbonisation that we can start to see coming through. And there are some encouraging signs in terms of legislation and also funding for innovation, which are very encouraging. Part of the cultural challenge is just how big and complex climate change and the net zero transition really is. So we need to kind of spread understanding and build everyone's climate literacy a little bit. Collaboration is going to be a really key part of the kind of cultural challenge and how we respond to climate change. Lots of people's emissions are actually dependent on their suppliers or on their customers, and we need to look at our supply chains in a slightly different way and kind of learn to collaborate across the whole value chain.